All right. So, in your opinion, what was the nature of the conflict in Vietnam?
The conflict in Vietnam, well, it was really complicated. And I think it might have been the first war that the United States was in that was really about something other than its stated purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if your class read like, what was it called? The Great Generation, or Tom Brokaw's book about the World War II people. So like, they're older than my parents and the people who went to war in World War II. And that was clearly, to stop the Nazis, to stop in the end, the communists. I mean, all this, we were the good guys, right?
Yeah.
So, without going into a lot of history, France was in Vietnam. France used to colonize Vietnam, kind of owned it, and they were driven out. And there were many business interests, shall we say.
Yeah.
So capitalism played a role. But we didn't say that. Our government went in, even though France had been trounced there, we went in and said that we were protecting South Vietnam from communism.
Like how at first, it was obviously very, everyone thought that it was just to prevent communism, and then attitude shifted a lot as the war progressed. Mm-hmm. And do you think your attitude shifted a lot, or did you come into it, like you said, very young, anti-war?
Well, I'll just say I've been a pacifist as long as I can remember that I knew what the word meant, anti-violent. So whenever there's a war, I'm like, how do you stand up for what's right without being willing to kill? Mm-hmm. I'll tell you one little realization I had in all this, and I'm telling these things kind of out of sequence, but that's probably okay. So actually, my parents took me to anti-war rallies.
Oh, really?
So my parents were not. Maybe I'm just like those other kids. I just had liberal parents. But I was pretty much wanting to inform myself, too. Mm-hmm. So they were progressive, liberal, whatever you want to call it, war, and real active in that movement, did not take that energy and then say, and now let's fight for women's rights, and now let's fight for African American rights, and now let's fight for gay rights, and now let's fight for American Indians. It was sort of like a lot of the white men got their reprieve from danger and just went home.
Yeah, I've noticed that in movements, like the whole first wave, second wave feminism, the reason there's waves, it seems like they got the right to vote, and they're like, okay, and it seems like the movements slow down, which is what made me nervous with the whole passing of the marriage equality. Mm-hmm. It's it's going to be interesting to see if we keep pushing or if there's a lull in the...
And watch for it, because what works for white middle class people, and it has led to a lot of progress that's really important, but then what's the next step? Because there's still a lot of oppression, there's still a lot of injustice, and just because you got your issue taken care of maybe doesn't mean that you should take, just be happy and
be done.
Sit down.
Yeah. Exactly. So you did talk about your singing a little bit, and so what role do you think music played in the anti-war movement?
I think some of the greatest music came out of that era, and now I'm sitting here trying to think of some of it. Because it was post-Beatles and then pre-Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So there was a lot of protest music, and a lot of it was sort of folk rock. Mm-hmm. And then there was, it's really funny, one song that I think of a lot is a song from Buffalo Springfield. And a couple of them became Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Oh, but really? It's, something happened here. What it is ain't exactly clear. You know that one?
I don't.
There's a man with a gun over there telling me I got to be
your personal beliefs that led you to oppose the war? I'm sorry.
Well, it really was being a pacifist.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it was just a period of disillusionment for the whole United States where the leaders were really lying to us. And here's a little anecdote. I grew up in Minnesota, like you did. So you know who Hubert Humphrey was.
Yes.
Actually, he's from Dolan, South Dakota. Uh-huh. Hubert Humphrey was kind of my hero when I was really young. And when all this was happening, I thought, and he was vice president.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Hubert Humphrey is not going to lie. And so I wish I had the letter, and maybe somewhere in all my mess, it still exists. I wrote him a letter. And so I was probably, that was when I was in high school. And I got back this letter that just infuriated me. That was pretty much a, there, little girl, don't you worry about it. We've got big man taking care of this for you. And I thought, you giant, you know what? I thought you were
different,
honest.
Yeah.
I thought you would even just say, I don't agree with this policy, but here's, some kind of rationale. But it was very sexist and ageist, and I was done with Hubert Humphrey stuff again.
Definitely.
It's really been a long time. And I'm sure nobody looks at me now and goes, folk singer.
No, when you sent me that email, I was like, I could see it. And I was like, that's what I want to talk to you about.
It was really interesting days.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we did have some impact. I mean, not me personally, but young people did.
Okay.
And we were also, and this has been true even today, I'm at the edge of, I don't know what edge. I'm in the middle of baby boom.
Mm-hmm.
There have always been more people my age than any other age group in the United States. So we have power. I mean, and now we're old, and look at every ad you see. It's for stuff for old people.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of a cultural influence that maybe Nick's talked about too.
Mm-hmm.
Something happening here.
You know this song, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I've heard it.
We won't play the whole thing, but.
There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I've got to beware. Like it's time to stop, children. What's that sound?
Oh, yeah.